I don't care what they're going to say.
Welcome to another episode of Chewing the Fat. I'm your host, Big Rob. Thank you so much for tuning in, downloading the podcast. For the folks that have supported me by buying me a coffee, thank you, Ansley. I certainly do appreciate that. It helps me to be able to continue to run the podcast and to help folks tell these beautiful, messy human stories. And right now, in front of me in studio, is somebody who definitely knows something about some messy weather for sure. Please welcome Riley Hale. Riley, how are you doing, buddy?
Doing well. Thank you for having me, Rob. Excited to be here. And we've definitely had our fair share of some messy weather over the last couple of months, even last couple of years, honestly.
Yeah, for sure. If you don't know, Riley is the chief meteorologist at the CBS affiliate here in the CSRA. And he is, he's sitting here in my studio because we're in the same town. So I appreciate you being willing to come in and actually talk with me.
Absolutely.
For sure. So is the CSRA your home? Is this where you born and raised, or are you transplant?
So I am a transplant. I moved here. I took the job at WRDW in July of 2017. So I've been here almost 10 years.
Wow.
It'll be 9 years this summer. I'm originally from, I kind of claim Savannah, Georgia, and Charlotte, North Carolina. Kind of had a split childhood between those two cities for the most part. But Charlotte and Savannah still have, my mom's in Charlotte, dad's in Savannah, and most of my dad's family is still down there. We were just down there this past weekend. So Augusta and the CSRA ends up being a perfect middle ground for that. It's just about a 2.5 hour drive either direction. So it's been a good place to call home. From the region, but not necessarily from here exactly.
Gotcha. So were you always, you're a meteorologist now. Was science something that always fascinated you when you were growing up?
Definitely so. I think if you ask most meteorologists about how they got into this field, they usually start with the story of their childhood of a big storm that happened when they were young, and it really just kind of sparked their interest. So same thing for me. I was about 10 years old living in Charlotte at the time, and we had a generational ice storm up there to where we didn't have power at my house for close to 3 weeks. Oh, wow. And I absolutely loved it because it felt like camping inside. We had a wood-burning stove in our living room, so we had the air mattresses, and we're camping out in the living room, staying warm during that event. And I fell in love with it. Ever since then, I was watching the local on the 8s and the Weather Channel, wanted to know when that next big storm was heading our way. So that's where it initially piqued my interest. I never really considered it necessarily a career choice until I actually got to the University of Georgia. I was at Georgia. I was in the business school in Terry. I was doing risk management and insurance. Kind of getting more into that course load. I was like, do I really want to do this the rest of my life? I'm not really sure. And then just through a little bit of serendipity, one of my fraternity brothers mentioned that there was an atmospheric science program at Georgia. I didn't know we had one. Looked more into it. And kind of some of my science electives I was taking for my major at the time, I kind of re-sparked that interest and eventually switched my major, did a victory lap or two at Georgia, which is a good time, but ended up finishing my degree for the business side, but also atmospheric science, and graduated there in May of 2015. And then my very first job out of school was in the Mississippi Delta.
Oh, wow.
In Greenville, Mississippi. So that's usually how it works in the TV business.
For sure.
Your first job out of school, you got to start small. So I was in market 198 out of about 200 TV stations across the country. But finished out a 2-year contract there and then moved here in 2017.
Oh, wow. Wow.
Yep.
Obviously, you know the science and you know how to read the models and things like that. Weather is weather, and you can, you can kind of predict what's going on. But it is it is an ever-changing thing. And a lot of times, folks give you heat for like getting it wrong.
100%. That I mean, it comes with the territory. It's not something that is unique to any one meteorologist. It happens to all of them. And so, I mean, in those cases, absolutely, there's times when the forecast doesn't go according to plan 100%. I mean, it's going to happen predicting the future.
Right.
But in those cases, I mean, you just got to not try to take it too personal. Yeah, I mean, most of the time, what you're saying isn't necessarily a whole lot different than what they're saying across the street or at the National Weather Service or things like that. It's just, hey, sometimes it plays out a little bit differently than what you think.
Yeah, yeah. So, and I assume that the weather in Greenville, Mississippi was a lot different than in Augusta, Georgia.
Definitely had some differences to it, 100%. The big thing about the Delta was that it's big ag country. Mm-hmm. So right where I was in Greenville, it was basically 2 hours northeast, south, and west. You were driving through just farmland. Mm-hmm. Very fertile part of the country, being in that just Delta region. Yeah. So it has a long history of farming there. And the really unique part that creates is that with all that excess moisture around farmland, you can get some crazy humidity. So, there was some days to where, the heat index would be over 115.
Wow.
Which it made for some unbearable summers, 100% down there. But they also deal with kind of some same general type weather patterns that we see here, flooding. Mm-hmm. They can get impacted by the occasional tropical storm or hurricane, severe weather outbreaks, even ice storms, snow. Yeah. They get it all too.
Yeah. Yeah. We lived in Birmingham for a few years when I was working there. And, you look at a map and we're basically on the same latitude, you know what I mean? But it was crazy the difference in the weather, temperature wise, remained the same, but they were so much more susceptible to the hurricanes coming. I never realized how buffered Augusta was from hurricanes and things like that with the Panhandle and all of the bottom of Georgia and Alabama and all, you know what I mean? But then you're in Birmingham and it's nope, it shoots straight up from the Gulf. It's there it is. It just comes right at you. So it's crazy when you find a place and it, felt very much home and there were pine trees and all like that. But that was something, having a place that had tornado sirens in it. Yeah. I had never experienced that before. So that was really interesting coming from Augusta to go to a place like Birmingham that had that type of stuff.
And I mean, even with the type of severe weather they see in Birmingham and a lot of Alabama and Mississippi, that's kind of been labeled as the new Dixie Alley. And you always hear about Tornado Alley on the plains. Well, now they're kind of designated as a new Dixie Alley to where we really see a high concentration of tornadoes and severe weather happen in that corridor. And geography can play a little bit in that. For us here locally, our weather patterns can definitely be impacted by the Appalachian Mountains, and that can lead to what we sometimes call cold air damming events, the wedge. That may be kind of a buzzword people hear us talk about sometimes, but with the Appalachian Mountains and us being on the east side of it, sometimes that can keep drier and less unstable air pulled up over us to where they don't get those effects over in Alabama, Mississippi. Right. They really just get the full surge of that Gulf moisture and energy to interact with these fronts passing through. And they honestly do see a lot more severe weather than what we do here.
Yeah. Yeah. And, when you think about that stuff and then, we can't, forget what Helene did to this area, because we'd never had hurricanes in such a long time. And, in all the models, it's going to go this way, it's going to go that way. And then it turned and went straight through us. And it still breaks my heart. There are areas that you drive through now that tarps still on houses, things that are just not there. The whole face of Augusta changed with all of these pine trees, which are, they're softwood, they're thin-rooted trees. They go out wide, but they don't go very deep. And you see all these plates that are just up still and just dead, and it just changed the entire face of the area. And it's just one of those freak things that happened that could not have predicted. And for you guys that are on that front line, I know that's because the station's gonna want to send you out live to the windiest part of whatever's going on. When you're the one, I had to do that. I was the one telling people stay home.
Right.
But the station was like, come to the station and tell people to stay home. It's like, I have family too. What is an event like that? What is that like professionally and personally when you've got family at home and you've got that and you see what is happening?
Yeah, it's really hard. Especially being the chief. I mean, whenever there's bad weather, you got to be there. Mm-hmm. And for Helene specifically, I mean, that was a 26-hour day. Because, even before the main wind showed up, the day prior, we had significant flooding. We even had a couple of tornadoes reported in some of the outer rain bands. And then the main event showed up late that night into early Friday morning of September 27th. And during that time, my wife and my little girl were at home by themselves, just kind of listening to that wind roar out there. I would say, luckily, my wife has been through significant weather events. She actually went to the University of Alabama when they were impacted by an EF4 tornado.
Oh, wow.
So she had experience seeing the effects of that type of weather to where, honestly, Helene was the worst thing I had ever seen. And I hope something we never see again here locally. But, as you said, there's still effects that you pass by daily driving around the area. There's neighborhoods you go into and still get disoriented because it just looks so much different. But when you're there covering an event like that, you are so pumped full of adrenaline, just making sure people know what's happening and how to stay safe. And that's really when we take our job very seriously. Yeah. And that's the whole point of what we do, right? Helping people stay safe. It's just so devastating and hard with these events when you do have so much loss of life. For us here, just in the CSRA, we had 33 people lose their life that morning, all from trees falling on their homes. And I remember bursting in tears. I'm trying to fight back tears talking about it here because, that event is something I will always think back on of what you could have done differently, what you should have done. Is there anything you could have done to help save an extra life? It was hard in the days after that because you not only see the effects of it across your community, but people did lose their life. And some people don't have their mom, their dad, their sister, their brother, their husband, their wife anymore. And it's just devastating. But Helene was the worst thing we'd ever seen here locally. And it was just such a unique weather event because, to think that this system moved 200 miles inland and was still a hurricane by the time it reached us. Just a really unprecedented thing for us here locally and something I hope we never see again.
Yeah. And, and the thing is, and this is, I guess it's because I'm here, and I love Asheville, and Asheville got a ton of national coverage. It was horrific what happened there. All of the flooding, and yes, they had trees down and things like that. Completely different type of situation because it's different geography.
Right.
But it was almost like on the national front that like the other areas that were impacted kind of got forgotten because Asheville became the prodigal child of the weather event. And I'm like, you don't understand. There's still areas here that don't have power. There are people that have lost their lives here. There, you know what I mean?
Right.
Not that our tragedy is worse than yours, but it's like, to me, it was like, come on, you gotta widen out that lens and see everybody along that path that got affected and whose lives, neighborhoods are now changed forever.
Right.
Because of what happened with that, my assumption is that it caused not necessarily you, but everybody in your profession to kind of think differently on how to cover possible severe weather like that is coming to an area to make you more cautious of like things that are not the standard of what you normally see on your graphs and charts and things like that.
Right. And yes, definitely a lot of lessons learned after Helene. And I think one of the biggest things, just taking in criticism or comments that people have said, is that moving forward, whenever we have an event like that now, I think people want to know what the worst case scenario could be, not necessarily what's expected, but hey, this is what could happen, even though it may only be a 10% chance it happens. There's still a chance. And I think moving forward, that's definitely something I've taken to heart, because, I mean, prior to Helene, I think the sentiment was that y'all are just saying this to hype it up. Nothing ever happens here.
Right.
Y'all just need to boost your ratings. That's why you're saying this stuff. And so there was, prior to Helene, I think there was some caution to really over amplifying something because of that constant criticism you had received over the years of maybe a severe weather event didn't play out. We didn't really see much. And you don't want to be the person that cries wolf. Right. But after Helene, I think people recognize, like, okay, like really bad weather can happen here. It does happen here. And so now I think with these events moving forward, part of our forecast would be like, all right, this is our forecast. This is what we're expecting. But, there is still a chance that it could overproduce or be a little bit stronger than expected. And this is what that would look like.
Right. And I know in our area here, we had that kind of situation happen here recently with ice storms and the winter weather and things like that. And the Northeast is dealing with a lot of that right now with a front that has come through. But if we go back about 6 weeks or so ago, we thought we were going to get hit with. There was every weekend for almost a month, we were going to get hit with snow and ice and blah, blah, blah.
It was 3 weekends in a row with winter alerts.
Yeah.
First weekend was, I believe, the 9th, where it was a winter weather advisory. We got the chance for a few flakes, not really expecting much. That played out kind of as expected. The next weekend was the potential ice storm. We saw ice storm warnings issued for most of our I-20 counties, anywhere north of that, and was calling for quarter-inch of ice to maybe even up to a half-inch of ice, which isn't as much as the February 2014 ice storm, but still enough to cause some slick spots on roads, maybe some power outages, things like that. And that forecast really did evolve a lot over a week time frame, because initially, kind of early on into the week, it was looking really bad. Yeah. And then as we got closer and closer, it was like, all right, we're still expecting some ice, just not necessarily like devastating ice storm. And then we would end up getting a little bit of ice in some spots. It was really interesting, kind of like you would drive around downtown Augusta, not see much, but then you say go up to like exit 5 in North Augusta, and there's a little bit of ice on the ground. You go 30, 45 minutes another farther north up towards the lake, and then they got sleet and accumulating ice on stuff. So that threshold, especially with ice storms, are just so tricky because it comes down to 1 or 2 degrees. Yeah. And not just 1 or 2 degrees at the surface, but 1 to 2 degrees 1,000 feet up, 2,000 feet up, 10,000 feet up. So in those events, you are really stressing hard because the possible outcomes changes drastically based on 1 to 2 degrees.
Right. Yeah. Well, and then that's, where we live, the CSRA, the Central Savannah River area, it's 8, 9 counties and all kind of varying topography.
Yes.
So you've got valleys and hills and bluffs and plains and all of that in all of these, across 2 states in all of this area. And like you said, 10% in one place looks completely different than 10% in somewhere else. And that's the thing too, is like, when people say, oh, there's a 10% chance of snow, it's like, okay, in this entire area, 10% might get the snow. It doesn't mean that where you are, you're going to get you have a 10% chance of snow. People don't understand, like, even any precipitation, that it's like, no, that has nothing to do with you standing where you are on your porch, that you're going to get 10% out of 100 of the snow. It's in this entire area.
Yes.
10% could get out of this area.
The probability of precipitation is something that is very confusing and can even be confusing to meteorologists. When I was actually at Georgia, we did a case study where we sent out surveys to meteorologists across the country and asked them, what is your definition of POP, probability of precipitation, your rain percent? Got back all different types of answers. And it's just so interesting to think of something that we see so often in a forecast that can be misunderstood so much. And so a lot of stations now even have gotten rid of putting a percent chance of rain. They'll just say isolated showers, scattered showers, numerous, widespread. And so the technical definition of probability of precipitation is you basically take the area you're forecasting for. All right, so the CSRA, if you think rain's going to happen, what percentage of that area would you expect to see rain? And then you multiply that by your confidence. So I know. Yeah, that's
what is that?
That's the variable that a lot of people don't hear about.
Your personal confidence?
Exactly. So that's why it can change so much, like person to person. Like how sure are you in yourself?
What's your gut feeling?
Exactly. So with like say like today, we have we're expecting pretty widespread rain. So I would say 80% of our forecast area is expected to see rain. My confidence in that 70%. So then you would take 0.8 times 0.7, quick math would be roughly 60% chance of rain.
Okay.
So then that's how you would get your percentage chance of rain, is kind of like that coverage percent and then your confidence percent. Wow. Which can get interesting. And then so it's like on a day when just kind of a plain summer day to where we got the chance for some pop-up showers and thunderstorms. I mean, even with that, that's even trickier to kind of pinpoint exactly where it's going to happen, because it's basically like you put a pot of water on the stove to boil, and the first little bubbles that pop up, those are like your thunderstorms. And it can be almost impossible to pinpoint, like, okay, the bubble's going to pop up right there. But you know where the pot is, you know where the water's in the pot and where it's going to be heating up. So you have a general area, but as far as the resolution to be able to pinpoint, all right, this square mile is going to see the rain first. Like, it's impossible to do. And weather models will never really be able to get to that point.
I love that. I love that analogy. That's amazing. And with that, and we talk about the snow, you got a lot of flack because it did not snow on that first weekend, and there was no ice or anything. I just saw on social media.
Yes.
A lot of people want to give you some guff about that. But then there were a lot of people that ran to your defense and like, if he didn't say this and it turned out to be Helene, because now that is our default. That's
right.
Helene is the biggest thing we've seen. So now if it had turned out to be Helene, you would have been mad then too.
Yes.
If he didn't say this. So like you said, giving the worst case scenario, it's like, here are all the cards. I'm showing you all the cards.
Yep. From
the least case scenario to the worst case scenario. And I have to tell you all the cards.
Right.
You know?
And the forecast is somewhere in the middle.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so that can be the tough part of communicating the forecast. And it was interesting because the Friday before the ice event was expected that weekend, I had made a post showing what the worst case scenario could be. And it showed that the worst case would be maybe up to like 0.4 of an inch of ice in Augusta, maybe up to 0.75 of an inch up towards the northern CSRA. But our forecast was generally calling for around 0.25 of an inch. Yeah. But it could maybe be 2 to 3 times that. But in my post I made on Friday, I was saying, all right, this is our worst case scenario, and I want to put it in perspective to say, all right, even though this is a low percent chance of happening, a 10% chance of happening, even if it does verify, it's still not even close to the February 2014 ice storm.
Right.
And so initially people were getting upset with me talking about that, to basically say like it's not going to be bad as 2014, and then people were like, "Oh, now you're saying this, and we've already bought generators, we've got food and everything.
All the milk and bread is gone.
All the milk and bread is gone," and you're scratching your head like, when did I say that this was going to be like something you wouldn't have power for multiple weeks for?
Right.
But then weekend unfolds. We get some ice in some spots, not much in others. Ended up seeing some heavy rain with temperatures right around 32, 33 degrees. If it would have been a couple degrees colder, completely different event type deal. But then, yes, as you said, there was a lot of people that gave me flack for it. But then there were also a lot of other people that kind of came to my defense. And those are the comments I really try to focus on because, I mean, you can definitely get in a bad headspace just reading constant criticism about
for
yourself.
Sure.
Yeah.
For sure. And I have to also applaud you for not taking the BS as well, because you had some fire responses to some people for what they were saying. One of my favorites was when you compared your forecast to the insurance that the guy was selling, and then they decide to not fill the claim or go out of business, or just took all the payments, but then they're not going to pay out. That I was like, you go, Riley Hale, you go, because that was amazing. And then you got a lot of people are like, yeah, he ain't taking it. But that's the thing is like, because you understand. And the thing is people see a face on a television and they're hiding behind a keyboard, and I can say anything I want to this person and not realizing that you're a human being with a family and a heart and compassion and kindness. And what you do, yes, it's your job, but it's also, as you said, public service. You go out in the storm when it's time to tell people to stay inside and to gather their supplies and stuff like that. So I just applaud you for not taking it from people, but also, the way that you did it was not, you weren't rude or anything like that, but you definitely weren't taking anything.
Yeah, I found out quickly that people definitely read the comment section in those posts. But yeah, I mean, in certain cases, I don't respond back. I'm like, there's probably nothing I can say to make this person change their mind. But then other instances, it's like, all right, I think this person's getting a little too comfortable, and I want to let them know, like, hey, I'm an actual person. Yeah. I'm trying to do the best job I can, and my heart is in a place to where I'm really just trying to protect people, not cause chaos, not make you buy a generator that you don't need, like all that type stuff. So with the insurance guy too, in that comment I made to him, I basically tried to compare, like, hey, I'm sure you catch flack in your industry because people will tell you, hey, you're collecting all my premiums, but then you deny my claim. And I kind of ended that with saying, like, I'm sure you receive flack like that, but it's more nuanced than that as well. And same thing goes for the forecast, where it's like, sometimes you get it 100% right. Sometimes it's a little bit different. Sometimes completely off. Yeah. It's just part of predicting the future. Yeah.
And maybe and to switch gears a little bit, why is it milk and bread?
I don't know.
Why is it always milk and bread? Is it a Southern thing? Because it seems like it's always down here. It's like, I don't know, we're going to live on French toast somehow or something like that, but it's always milk and bread.
They go first.
They are the first things to be emptied out of every grocery store.
I'm guessing people love PB&Js. And the thing is with the milk, I guess it's a lot of sustenance relative to the amount maybe. But
if the power's out, it's gonna spoil.
I guess they think they can put it outside in the snow, maybe. I don't know. But
even if it's a rainstorm or a hurricane, they're buying up all of the milk and bread too. So I don't know. I thought maybe in meteorology school, they were like, now we're going to talk about the milk and bread. No?
I wish I had a better answer of kind of the origin story of the milk and bread, but that's just been kind of the thing that's been around since as long as I've remembered.
Also, aside from being an excellent meteorologist, you are a pretty sporty fellow as well, right? You like to get out and get on the water and drop a line every so often?
love to fish. That is my number one favorite hobby. Like to golf too, but fish is definitely the more relaxing of the two. Mm-hmm. Golf can get kind of frustrating a little bit, but with fishing, it's something I've been doing since I was a little kid. I used to always bug my dad growing up. Let's go fishing. Let's go fishing. Let's go fishing. Eventually got to the point to where we were moving out of our church parsonage. So my mom's a United Methodist minister, so we kind of grew up in parsonages growing up. But then we eventually moved to our own house, and my dad made sure to pick a house with a little tiny pond in the neighborhood. So we could always go fish. And so, I mean, since the age of maybe 8, 9 years old, that was something I was always doing on my free times with the neighborhood friends. We'd have a little john boat, go out and fish all the time. And that's another aspect of why I really love the CSRA is that there's just so much great opportunities to fish. The river, the canal, the lake, the McDuffie public fishing area. And there's just so many good spots for public fishing. And that's really when I fell in love with the area when I first moved here. Found out about the canal, had my little kayak I'd brought over from Mississippi, and caught like a 5-6 pound bass in the canal. And I was like, oh man, this is awesome. Yeah. It's on. Yeah. And ever since then, I've been fishing the waters hard. Yeah. And it's something I definitely love and find peace in.
Yeah, yeah. Does the meteorology help you in your fishing a little bit?
There's definitely a weather component to fishing, 100%. I actually... with the Clarksville Striper Club, I gave a presentation one time to them about how weather can affect fishing. And I try to keep up with a fishing game log. So anytime I fish, I'll come back and kind of go over what the weather variables looked like. What was pressure doing? Was it cloudy? Was it sunny? What was the temperature? What was the water temp, time of year, moon phase? All different types of stuff like that can definitely influence fish behavior and fish feeding windows. So, I always say fish ahead of the cold front. Dropping barometric pressure is when those fish are going to be fired up because they're picking up on those barometric pressure changes and knowing, all right, if pressure's dropping, that means a strong system's moving in and my environment's really going to change a lot over the next couple of days. So they're really trying to feed ahead of that window. So I've caught had a lot of good fishing days kind of on the day or two before front passes. And then behind that can be a little bit tougher, but then you just change your strategy. Instead of fish being maybe suspended up in the water column, chasing bait ahead of the front, now they're kind of sitting on the bottom and being a little bit more sluggish. So you just have to change kind of your presentation and how you go after them.
What's your go-to rig?
So this time of year, kind of this pre-spawn before we get into the spawn of spring, I love throwing spinner baits, jerk baits. Alabama rig is a big thing I love throwing during the colder months. Big moving flashy baits. That's kind of what I like.
Nice. And what's your favorite fish to fish?
I've fell in love with bass fishing early on, and that is closest to my heart, I think. I do all types of fishing, and I love all different types. Growing up, kind of the later years of high school in Savannah, got way more into inshore saltwater fishing, redfish, trout, flounder, things like that. Love doing that too. But I mean, if I'm on a kayak on the Savannah River, catching smallmouth, largemouth, that's my absolute favorite.
That's awesome. Yeah. And you catch and release, or you keep a few and cook, or what?
Catch and release mostly. There's certain instances where maybe I'll keep some. Love a striper's great table fare. So if I'm ever fishing with someone and we're catching striper and hybrid, usually keep a couple of those. Fish a couple farm ponds with some buddies, and they manage their ponds, so they know they have to pull out X number of fish per year to keep the population stable. So whenever we're fishing those spots, definitely keep a few largemouth, and hey, anything tastes good if you fry it.
I mean, you're not wrong there. You're not wrong there. You work with my buddy Cliff over there at there at Channel 12. What any inside Cliff stories that I could embarrass him with?
Let's see, with Cliff. Oh man, so many good ones.
I got to say, I forgot who it was, but it was Halloween a few years ago. And one of the people that y'all work with, when they had like costume dressed up as Cliff for Halloween, when he had the arm brace on and would wear the jacket over, and then the guy put like a wig in his shirt for the hair to come out. I thought that was amazing.
Was Clayton. Yeah. That was one of the best Halloween costumes, and they actually let him go on the morning mix too.
Oh, that's awesome.
To be a host for a little bit, like
before Cliff came in.
Yes, that was a great one, and shout out to Clayton too. He helped me with my Reeling with Riley segment as my camera guy with us, and he's a great dude. Just had his first daughter a couple months ago. But with Cliff, it's actually really funny. So about a month ago, my wife went on the morning mix, and Cliff didn't recognize her at first until the interview was over. And it's like, wait, what? You're Riley's wife. He was just so caught up in the moment of getting the interviews done and everything. And I think they had someone show up late that day, so he's a little flustered a little bit. But then it gets to the end of the interview, he's like, oh my gosh, Emily, you're Riley's wife.
That's hilarious.
But Cliff's a good dude. I will say this about Cliff. He is he is a great supporter of mine. With the ice storm stuff from about a month ago, he was one of the first texts I got saying, like, we appreciate you, love what you do, and hang in there type deal. So Cliff's a great guy. Love Cliff.
That's awesome.
And Heidi, too.
Oh, yeah, of course. Being here in the CSRA, is there anything that, like, you have just, I mean, you've been here, like you said, almost 10 years. So it's home.
Yes.
For now. Is there any thoughts to move on past this, or like this feels like the place that the family is going to be for a while?
This does feel like home to us, and I've already kind of signed multiple contracts to get to this point. I'm not sure exactly what the future will hold, but I mean, right now we are very happy here. My wife works for Richmond County School District. She's their literacy specialist for K through 3.
Oh, wow.
So she's worked her way up the ranks in the district office, and she's amazing and creates so much good change in our local school system. And so she's happy with her job, and I'm happy with mine. And I mean, we got married here. We had our first daughter here.
Wow.
So, I mean, and we got a second one due at the end of May. So
yeah, sounds like the roots are growing deep.
The roots have grown deeper and deeper for sure.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So Riley, aside from, the stuff that you got going on in your job and fishing, what's bringing you joy?
My little girl brings me so much joy.
Yeah.
Coming home to her, saying "Daddy" and just running to you in your arms. I mean, my heart melts. It is the absolute best. I would say that's definitely where a lot of my joy comes from these days. My wife too. We are expecting our second later at the end of May.
Congratulations!
Thank you very much. So, yeah, we are. Our family's growing, and that's where a lot of my joy comes from. Seeing her grow up and just getting to embrace her.
Mm-hmm. Is she going to follow in Dad's footsteps? Does she?
She's quite the performer for sure. She loves to sing.
Okay.
Any Disney tune, she can belt it out. So maybe she'll be a singer later on in life. I'm not sure.
When it did snow here the other day, did you guys go out and perform Frozen? Did she sing,
Yes.
Let it,
that is her absolute favorite character is Elsa from Frozen. And that's been her go-to song lately too, is Let It Go.
Mm-hmm.
So,
I mean, it's a weather related, come
is.
on. That's right in the pocket.
What's funny is her favorite line from that song, Let It Go, she'll belt this out in the middle of the grocery store out of nowhere and saying, I don't care what they're going to say. It's just like, shh, we're in a public place, Ellie.
That's awesome.
But yeah, she loves that line of saying, I don't care.
which is so great in a public place.
Exactly.
All right, Riley, this is the second segment of the show. This is where we dive a little bit deeper into your mental health journey, because I believe the more we can talk about this stuff, the lighter it becomes for all of us to realize we're not alone, because that's what depression wants to tell you, is that you're alone. And if we can take that power away, it makes it so much easier. So for you, how do you keep the darkness at bay?
Keeping it at bay has been something that everyone struggles with at some point in their life, and I'm no different, especially early on in life. Switching cities halfway through high school, parents divorced, having to move to a completely different place, make new friends, that type of stuff. And so, early on in life, I battled with depression, was medicated for it, and was something that I had to kind of deal with through like my later teenage years, early 20s, through college. Got better and better, but the biggest thing I have to focus on is not to get lost in your head. Really try to find good outlets to get that energy out, whether it be exercise or relationships, and just positive self-talk. Because I think a lot of times we're our own worst enemies. And just try to keep the self-talk positive. Exercise when I can. That's not something I've necessarily been super great at since becoming a dad. But my biggest outlet was, playing basketball in college. I loved playing pickup basketball. And it seemed like any time I would go out there and play, I would forget about anything happening in my life. So good exercise like that. Fishing as well. Fishing was another big hobby in my life since I was a little kid, and that's also where I found peace. And you gain perspective just kind of being out there with yourself and nature, and prayer too. I think prayer has gone a long way in my life. I mentioned my mom's a United Methodist pastor, so it's faith has been part of my life since early on. And me personally, I've had so many of my prayers answered by just sitting down and letting it all go, and just being like, all right, this is what's happened. This is how I feel. Let me know what you want me to do. So faith, exercise, and good positive self-talk. That's kind of my mantra for keeping the demons away.
I love that. And as you mentioned earlier, you being a public figure, being on television, people can come at you, in ways that are, dehumanizing almost, because they don't know you. They don't realize that the human that's there, the saying is, we're all going through something. You never know what somebody's going through. Be kind.
Right.
100%. But sometimes people don't play by those rules. And then being in the news as well. I know when I was working news, we have stories of, bodies being found, murders being committed, tragedies, accidents, things like that you see that we don't air, because you see the raw footage and having to deal with that stuff. Having, your trio there, I'm sure definitely helps in those type of situations.
Definitely so. I going back to Helene. After Helene, very dark spot. Really was down on myself after that event. And it took a good amount of time, several months, before I really felt kind of back to normal, headspace-wise. And that's part of this job is that there's going to be intense things that happen, whether on the news or weather related. That can be, it's critical to have an understanding of how you're feeling, why you're feeling it, and knowing kind of how to pivot it into a positive direction. Yeah. So in the wake of Helene, it was really like a lot of self-doubt and is this really what I'm supposed to do? And then it became, you can either quit or you can learn from it and make it so you become a better meteorologist.
Yeah.
So, I mean, in this field, you definitely get a lot of criticism, as you were saying, and people can come after you, and you can take it personally sometimes and get really kind of beat yourself up about it and think what they're saying is true.
Right.
And so that can be the hard part. And then it always seems like whenever you have some of those comments that present themselves, there are comments on the opposite side of that spectrum, true, that say, we appreciate you, thank you for what you do. And so you're trying to balance out, not just focusing on the bad, but also realizing like not everyone feels exactly this way. But yeah, it can be tough after big weather events. Just going from the adrenaline high to just very, very low.
Yeah.
After it, especially in the wake of something like Helene.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's important. What you're saying is like, yes, there are those, folks that comment and say that we appreciate you, but having a close circle, or even if it's just that one person that is going to be there, that you can say, hey, I'm feeling like this. And they're like, yeah, you couldn't control the weather.
Right.
You did the best that you could. Things happen, but that doesn't mean that you are less of a person, or that you're less loved, or you're less at all. Don't let yourself talk to yourself that way. And I think that's one thing that all of us do. Is, like I said, we all are our own worst critics at time. And one of the things a friend of mine said is like, if you wouldn't talk to someone that way, I'm not going to let you talk to yourself that way. You know what I mean?
Yes.
If you wouldn't talk to a friend that way, I'm not going to let you talk to my friend, that way.
Right.
And being able to have those type of people is so critical. And you don't even have to know the person, because depending on where you are, maybe you're somewhere where you're just alone and you don't know, but there's always someone that you can call. Definitely. Whether it be, like the suicide prevention line, was it the 988? It's not, yes, it's for suicide prevention, but also if you need somebody to talk because those dark thoughts are coming, they're there.
There are, and so many different telehealth networks too, to where it may not necessarily be someone you are meeting face to face, but there's avenues to talk to someone, and so many of those resources. And I think as we've in this day and age, it's so much different than just 20, 30 years ago, being able to openly talk about this stuff and realize that, hey, everyone kind of goes through this at some point, and it's important to be able to have someone you can reach out to, and don't just keep it all inside. And I think, especially with guys, I mean, it can be hard to open up about stuff like that. A lot of times we're not as good as expressing our feelings as women can be. So it's important for us to work on that and know when we do need to talk.
All right, Riley, it's time now for the third segment of the show. It's time now for the Fast Five. The Fast Five. It's time now for the Fast Five. Fast Five. Sorry, I'm still working on the theme song for that segment.
I love it.
I need some instrumentation or something. Anyway, the Fast Five is it's powered by Poddex, an app created by my friend Travis Brown. If you go to chewingthefatbr.com/Poddex, it'll take you to where you can download it on to your own device. And it's made for podcasters, but they're great icebreaker questions as well. So no wrong answers. First thing comes to the top of your head. You ready?
Ready.
All right, here we go. Question number 1. What would constitute a perfect day for you?
Perfect day for me would be being with family. We're going out to do something together as a family. For my perfect day, it would be we all go out fishing together. And then we enjoy a great day fishing, come back for a good nap, wake up from the nap, play outside, take Gurley to the playground, walk the dogs around the neighborhood, and then get home, make a good home-cooked meal, maybe grill something, and then a couple ice-cold beverages to close out the night, and then that would be a perfect day.
That's awesome. That's a great day. That's a great day. Question number 2. What's the most annoying bill you have to pay?
Ooh, the most annoying bill I have to pay is... Oh, man, that's a good one. I would say car insurance.
Car insurance? Yeah.
I feel like insurance rates have just gradually, or not gradually, but have just gone up a lot over the last several years.
Yeah.
I love my insurance agent, but it's
Same.
just so much money. Car insurance, home insurance, all it works.
And I wish that stuff worked more like, like kind of like health insurance. It's like, oh, well, the tires went down on the car. I pay the insurance. Can't I just get some new tires? Yep. No, it doesn't work that way.
Nope.
That's not how that works.
Or if you don't have an accident or don't speed for several years in a row, maybe you can get a little discount.
Right. Or a lot of discount.
Would be
great. Yeah. Awesome. All right. Question number 3. Is there anything that you would like to accomplish in this next year?
My biggest thing on my mind this year is obviously welcoming in our baby boy later on in May. So I think the biggest thing I want to accomplish is being a good dad and husband and making sure my wife makes it through the recovery process well. We manage our new one well and also continue to still give the most amount of love to our first one too. Yeah. So that's the biggest thing I want to accomplish, being the best dad and husband.
Yeah. Oh, that's great. That's great. What's the age difference?
So she turns 3 at the end of May, and the due date of the second one is about 2 days away from her birthday. So,
don't let them have the same birthday.
I know. We're trying to avoid that. May's a busy month.
Could be a few days apart. Look, my birthday is they're all in October. So mine's the 11th. My wife's the 13th. My youngest son's is the 14th, and my oldest son, we used to tell him it was October the 32nd, but it's November 1st. So,
my birthday's November 2nd.
Look at that. Yeah. But don't let them have their own, because my youngest could have been born on my birthday. And it wasn't that I didn't want someone born on my birthday. I was like, he needs his own day though.
Yeah.
For him. You know what I mean? So,
exactly.
So yeah, hopefully, but
we'll see how it plays out.
As with the weather, sometimes these things can't be predicted.
That's right.
Question number 4. If humans came with a warning label, what would yours say?
Ooh. Warning, grumpy in the morning.
Ooh.
I don't necessarily wake up the happiest person all the time. I can be a little bit grumpy waking up early in the morning. So that's something I also need to work on too. But that would be my warning label. There's probably going to be
some mornings with this new child.
I know. I need to fix it. But that's my warning label. Needs coffee in the morning.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And question number 5. Do you consider yourself to be superstitious?
To quote the great Michael Scott, maybe not superstitious, but a little stitious.
Little stitious?
I definitely kind of like, I'm trying to think off the top of my head some things that I'm a little superstitious about.
I mean, you went to a legacy college like Georgia, game days, there's lots of superstition on game days, wearing same socks, underwear, whatever, that type of stuff.
I would say there's definitely shirts I don't wear on Georgia game days after we've lost, 100%. So you have like your lucky shirts and your
unlucky
your shirts you don't wear on game day. But then, with like, oh man. I'm thinking as a kid, like, don't walk on the cracks.
Yeah, don't break mom's back.
That's right. Little stuff like that. I don't really pay attention if I walk on the crack of the sidewalk now. But it was funny. We had Friday the 13th a couple weeks, 2 weeks. Oh, last week? 2 weeks.
Yeah, 2 weeks.
2 weeks ago. Yeah. So we made a funny little weather graphic of all the different superstitions. It had like a black cat walking across. It had the spilled salt on the table, the broken mirror, the ladder, the open umbrella inside. I would say, I don't open umbrellas inside. So maybe a little stitious with that. But if I spill salt, try to throw it over right, left shoulder. I can't really remember. One of the shoulders.
Left shoulder. It's like left shoulder with your right hand or something like that.
Yeah. I always think of that scene in Dumb and Dumber when he spills the salt and he just tosses the whole salt
shaker. That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, that's our Fast Five, and that's the show, Riley. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me, Rob. Great talking with you.
Yeah, I really appreciate it. If folks want to keep up with you, obviously they can see you on the TV, but do you do social media a whole lot? Is there a way folks can keep up with you?
Yes, I would say my Facebook page, Riley Hale, WRDW. That's where I post the most content kind of daily. Usually I'm posting forecast updates there and occasional fish pictures, family pictures, things like that. So Facebook page, Riley Hale, WRDW, that's the best place.
Awesome. I'll make sure to put that in the show notes. And again, thank you so much for being here. I really do appreciate everything that you do for this community, and wish you nothing but success in everything. 100% POP for your success, my friend.
Thank you very much, Rob. I'm honored to be a guest on the show, and thank you for everything you're doing, too, to help increase awareness and understanding of mental health.
Thank you. Thank you. And if you would like to support this podcast, I'd appreciate it if you bought me a coffee at chewingthefatbr.com. But until next time, I look forward to the chance we have to sit a spell and chew the fat.